Hi everyone.
Hi.
This is Avinash.
And Nick.
And welcome to the Point and Click Web Analytics TV show. We're going to go with our first question.
And the first question is for you today.
Oh, good.
It's from Pearl D. from Stadskanaal, Netherlands. We're getting international. So the question is to you is, how would you monetize or set goals for a website, for instance, the butcher around the corner? I mean, for small sites, there are mostly 5 to 6 info pages and a contact form. The only goal what I can think of is form filled in. So for these smaller businesses, how would you set up conversions and think about the metric strategy for them?
I mean, it really does tie down to what the goals of your website are. I mean, if there are no calls to action on your website at all, then really there's not much that you can do in terms of tracking. If you've got a form filled out, yes, definitely do that. If you've got an email contact, like contact us, send us an email, do that. If you've got a map, if you've got any things that are connected to a call to action, tie that back to your Google Analytics conversions or any Web Analytics tool. But the other thing to think about is that using like unique 800 number, a unique phone number. Just have a unique phone number on the website. And track the phone calls that come in through that phone number. That's sort of not a very difficult thing to do now. So at the end of the day, you can only create goals for any call to action you have. If your website literally for a butcher simply shows the butcher and the pieces of meat and all that, and is absolutely zero calls to action, then I guess if I'm a butcher, I would randomly ask people who come to my website, to my store, hey, have you seen my website? And maybe use that as a conversion measure of success. But at the end of the day, it has to come back to a goal. A lead that you got, a phone call you got, a product page that somebody viewed, the number of pages somebody might have viewed, because now you can set goals for the number of pages that people might have seen. So, okay, I'm a butcher, people saw 4 pages of all the cuts of meat. Maybe that's a success. So tie it back to the goal, to the goals of the website, and either the behavior on the site using custom goals, or using offline ideas like phone numbers, or just surveying people who come into the store.
Right. I think another point to make is it really depends on also site structure. So if you only have one page and you have your phone number there and your map of where to find you all on one page, you're not going to be able to set a goal and differentiate that between how people are finding you. So one idea is to have a contact us page, where when people go to that page, you can set that up uniquely as a goal.
Exactly.
Yep. Great.
So the next one, also on goals, Nick, is for you. And this one says, why are goals calculated based on unique views of a page requested? Shouldn't one person be able to complete a goal more than once? Something such as sending an e-card or recommend this article. And this is from Tim in Edmonton, Alberta. Hello, Canada.
Hey.
All right.
So I think really when we came out with goals, the whole point of goals was to tie that back into the referral, and whether this referral that drove person to the site for a visit actually converted or not. It was a very binary decision. Did they convert or not?
Yes.
With a lot more Ajax pages and a lot more sophisticated type of websites, you might want to have different events or page views that you would want to count the total number of those within a session. So the way to do that in Google Analytics is to say advanced segment. So for a particular source of traffic, let's say a search from Google, you would create an advanced segment. And you would apply that to your top content report. And then for the number of page views that represent a goal, you would then be able to say, for people who came from Google, this is the total number of page views on a particular page. You can apply it to events, time on site, and so forth. So it's definitely possible to do today.
Exactly. So I think that rather than using the goal reports, if you really want to count multiple page views, consider using custom variables or event tracking as those things, and then going to those reports.
Yep.
Going to the content reports, going to the custom variable reports, and you'll be fine.
Yep.
You'll have the data you need.
Definitely. Great. So here's the next question for you, Avinash. So how's it?
Hang on. This one's for you, buddy.
Oh.
This is a good one for you. I love this one. It's from Aaron in New York City. And Aaron asks, an excellent question, how is it possible to have an e-commerce conversion rate of more than 100%?
Right, so conversion rates greater than a rate higher than 100, right?
I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, right. So actually, if you understand how everything's calculated, which I'll explain, it actually becomes very apparent why it's possible. So this report is called conversion rate, but it's found under the e-commerce section. And the calculation for this is actually the number of transactions divided by the number of visits. So because you can transact multiple times in your visit, you can have 2 transactions in 1 visit. For that visitor, the conversion rate, as it's calculated, is 2/1.
Right.
which is greater than 100%, and that's why you see it. This calculation for conversion rate under e-commerce is different than our standard conversion rate, which when you actually convert on a goal, it's only once per session. And so that case, you couldn't have a greater number of conversions than number of visits.
So basically, I can actually choose to take the same thank.you.html or whatever auto confirmation page, and Google Analytics will automatically create e-commerce conversion rate for that page. But you're advising me also to set up a goal conversion, set that up as a goal as well, and then the goal conversion rate will be deduped, and it will only be for one action taken in each session. And the difference between those two can help us understand if people are indeed placing more transactions in a single session.
Absolutely.
And that would be very clear. So set it up both as a goal and as an e-commerce conversion.
Yep, great. Okay, so now it's time for a question for you, Avinash. So we made a tracker for banner conversion using the URL builder. The banner showed only 1 day on a website, though it's been more than 20 days now that we're receiving visit counts. Is there a way to track it during that session when clicked? And that's, again, from Pearlie from the Netherlands.
Okay, good question. So there are two important things to realize. The first is the data capture side of things. So today, if I click on a banner or a organic search link or a paid search link or any kind of, literally, Google calls all these things campaigns, whether they are paid or unpaid. So organic is not paid. So when I come to the website today and it sets a campaign cookie for me, my subsequent visits, unless I use a different channel to come to the website, will be attributed back to that particular campaign. In this case, it was a banner ad. And that's why 20 days after the banner campaign perhaps was closed, you're still seeing that it is delivering visits because it did bring me to your website the very first time, and I continue to come back. If you do not want to have this behavior and you only want the credit for the first visit to go to the banner and no more visits to go to that, then it's actually very easy to do by tweaking Google Analytics just a little bit. You use the set campaign cookie timeout function, set the value to 0, and what will happen is when I come to the website, it will credit that to the banner ad in your case, and then when I come back again from organic search, I just come back to your website from a bookmark. No matter how I come back, it will actually credit it as direct or whatever else the thing is. So just use that feature, set campaign cookie timeout function, and it'll just time out your cookie, and no more visits will be attributed to that.
And we'll put a link on the video in the post, so that way you can find out how to get to that.
Exactly. Be very careful though. I mean, for things like this, one of my concerns is that for perhaps one niche problem, you're going to apply a particular solution that will apply across the board to all your campaigns and everything. Be very careful when you mess with cookies, and be very careful when you set with this. Have a much broader thought applied before you do these things. It's possible to do though. A question for you, Nick, from India. And it says, I have an AdWords account and I want to distinguish which visit is made by clicking on an AdWords ad versus made using organic search query in Google.
Yeah, so we made it really simple with Google Analytics. We've integrated with Google AdWords, and what you do is you, in the Google Analytics interface, you put your Google AdWords account, and then within AdWords, you select a feature called auto tagging. And what that does is for all the links that point back to your site from your ads, it appends a little query parameter, and when somebody clicks an ad, that parameter is there. Google Analytics will capture that, and it will map back the actual ad back to the full session and the referral and conversion and so forth. So once you have that enabled, all the search reports will allow you to differentiate between paid and organic search. Also, you'll get a different AdWords section that specifically breaks out even more information about your AdWords campaign. So if you really want to see the difference between paid and organic, enable this auto tagging and link your AdWords and Analytics accounts.
And for all other search engines, for Yahoo and Baidu and Microsoft and all of the search engines, if you just you can do manual campaign tagging and make sure that your campaigns on other search engines are tagged with these tracking parameters for paid search ads, then Google Analytics will automatically split out the visits from other search engines that are coming from organic search and coming from paid search. For Google AdWords, it's easier. For other ones, you have to do a smidgen extra work, but you can absolutely do this.
Yeah, we'll send a link also on how to set that up.
Both of those
It's
things.
really easy.
Good.
Great. So question for you, Avinash. Can you recommend a reasonable target percentage of search terms that are branded search, head of search long tail, for a small college? Right now we have basically no long tail. 85% of our search terms are branded or related to a single random resource. Thanks.
So this is a good question. I'm afraid that there isn't a global rule that you can apply for a balance between paid and branded and non-branded, brand and category terms as they're known. That there isn't a global rule that you can apply. But typically, your brand terms will bring people who are your loyalists who already know you or have heard about you. The power of the long tail is that it helps you bring all the impression virgins, quote unquote. I mean, people who don't know you, who've never heard of you. And I'm just searching for awesome college in Vermont. And you know, I don't know where to go, but if you do show up in organic or paid search results, you can kind of bring me over to your website and convince me like you're the university that is right for me. So it's important to have a healthy long tail and a brand strategy for your website. If 85% is branded, I would say there is an issue there. We will add a link to a blog post I've written about how to monetize the value of the long tail, and it'll be at the end of this blog post. Please check out that link about how you could go about attacking the long tail.
Great answer.
So this one's about site engagement. My favorite topic in the world.
Right. So the question is, hi Avinash, I've seen many times in Google Analytics traffic sources report that whenever pages per visit is 1 from any referring sites or keyword, then average time on site recorded is 0 and bounce rate is 100%. Please help me out.
So this is a good question. It's important to realize that using any web analytics tool, you can't actually measure the time spent on the last page of the visit.
Right.
The last page viewed on the visit, because the way time on page itself is computed is, let's say you see 2 pages, page A and page B. There is a timestamp associated with page A, then there is a timestamp associated with page B. The web analytics tool subtracts these 2 timestamps and computes how long you spent on page A. That's really how it works. So for the last page in your visit, there isn't a subsequent hit, if you will, to do that calculation. And that's why what you're seeing is for single page view visits, there's no time available. We'll link to an article I've written on time on site for my blog. And you can check that out about more nuances. But the reason you're not seeing is because for bounced visits, the last page happens to be the first page, and there's no way to compute time on site without doing some major hacking, which is links to which are in the blog post. So don't worry about that.
Yep, great. We'll link it up.
Oh, here's a good one from our good friend Michael. And it's a complicated one because Michael's a very complicated person. And he's asking, I was looking, in fact, to put, do you know why in custom reports, when you use a page dimension, you get unique visitor numbers that can be much higher than visits? And then Michael says perhaps he's comparing apples and oranges. This is indeed complicated. It seems counterintuitive that unique visitor numbers might be higher than visits. So what's going on here, Nick?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let's take a step back and think a little bit about how Google Analytics works. You put some tracking code on your site and you track different page views. That page view actually sends a 1-by-1 image request that's hidden that has a bunch of parameters that have data to Google Analytics. And so on our side at Google, we see a huge list of all these 1-by-1 image requests, and we process all that data. And so what we're able to deduce is the number of visits and then all the different page views within the visit. That's the data model that we create.
Sure.
So for each of these dimensions and metrics that you request, either from the UI, the web interface, or through the API, there's actually a function associated with the value that we actually apply all the visits for a unique profile through these functions, and we calculate the total number of visits and unique page views, and all the other dimensions and metrics as well. So the calculations for visits and unique page views actually is different. For visit, what we look at is if there is a hit or a page, any request within the visit, we increment the number of visits. For unique page views, what we say is if there is 2 pages, we'll undedupe them, or we'll dedupe them, right? Yes. So let me give you a concrete example and it'll make sense. So let's say you have 2 page views that you're tracking. One is foo and this other one is bar. And they come in that order, first foo, then bar. For number of visits, foo would get 1 visit, but bar would be 0, because foo is the first one and bar is the second one. For unique page views, foo would get 1 and bar would get 1. And it's because there's only one of each within the visit. So it is comparing apples and oranges. The calculations are different, and that's how it works.
Okay, that's great. And then Michael, if you have more questions or further clarification on this, you've got my email address. So just email me, and Nick and I can see if we can provide you with more context.
Great. Question for you, Avinash. Hi, Avinash. I just saw the 4th episode of Web Analytics TV and have a question about user engagement. If I surveyed my visitors or put "was this helpful" polls on each web page or article, would this help in determining engagement?
It would. So it would. So the short answer is that it would. In fact, it might even be better than using tools like Google Analytics or Omniture or Web Trends, who all might claim to do engagement. But the reality is, quantitative data only tells you the depth of engagement. What it doesn't tell you is the kind of engagement. And I think what Jacqueline from Florida is outlining is a great strategy to measure the kind of engagement you have, because you might have seen 10 pages on the Microsoft website, let's say, and you would be very happy because you found everything you want. Well, I spent 10 pages on Microsoft's website looking for a solution. I'm utterly frustrated. In the Web Analytics tool, both look highly engaged.
Right.
But if we follow the example Jacqueline's saying, we have a qualitative measurement, say, hey, did you complete your task or whatever? They can find that this engagement was actually super awesome, and my engagement was actually quite terrible. And qualitative data is a great way to do that. So it's an excellent suggestion, Jacqueline.
Yep, sounds great.
Here's a question for you, Nick. It's people do this all the time, and it's also from Netherlands, and it says, we're going to use Event Tracker for outgoing links, downloads, and mail to links. The question is, mail to links always have an email address that, and is it possible, if they end up using event tracking for outgoing links, to then capture the email address on the contact forms and other things that they have? And
right. So yeah, technically it's possible. One thing to be careful about with email addresses is our terms of service, which says you will not collect any personal identifiable information and store that within Google Analytics. Or you'll take the Google Analytics data and correlate that with personally identifiable information. So as long as whatever you're sending to us via a page view, a virtual page view, or an event doesn't have PII, then it's okay. One of the options that you can do for links is, instead of actually sending us the email address, you can just say email link 1 versus email link 2. And then that way you know exactly kind of where that address is, but there's no PII in GA, so it would conform to terms.
Exactly. And for outbound links and downloads, of course, that's not an issue at all.
No.
There's no PII there. Okay, good.
Great. Question for you from the Netherlands. Hi guys, what are the rules of using virtual page views or event tracking on websites which are using Ajax heavily? This because our website generates a high number of unique page views. We use virtual page views all the time.
So my advice to Art is that we used to use virtual page views in the past because Google Analytics didn't have some features, and this is like a few years back.
Yeah.
But now that Google Analytics has event tracking available and it has custom variables available, you actually have significantly more sophisticated ways of capturing the data from dynamic websites, Ajax Video, Flash Flex, whatever you're doing. So I strongly encourage you to move away from virtual page views unless you've got a very, very good reason to use it, because all those virtual page views are polluting the rest of your data. I mean, your average time on site and average page views per visitor, and all those metrics are getting messed up because you've got fake page views mixed in with real page views. So just be careful of that. Other than that, in terms of the limits, I can share with you some of the limitations that are available in terms of because you wanted the higher number. And for page views, it's 10 million a month or more, depending on if you're an AdWords advertiser or not. For event tracking, you can actually send 500 events a session, which I think seems like a lot of events for a session, unless you're some weird person. And for custom variables, you can actually send, this is very cool, you can send 5 custom variables per hit. Now, in a session, you could have any number of hits, essentially. Many page views. The only limitation, if it is a limitation, is you can only send 5 extra pieces of data with every hit. And as many as you want. So both event tracking and custom variables provide you really an enormously scalable, flexible, clean way of collecting lots of data while keeping the rest of your data free. So I strongly encourage you to try that. So we've got a question from Los Angeles, Nick, for you. And is it possible to see content overview, traffic source, browser capability, etc. by location? I think this is possible.
It's definitely possible. So there's no actually location dimension, but there are cities, states, countries, subcontinents, and so forth. So what you can do is create a custom report, and you can say, for these cities, show me all these other metrics. And so the custom report that would generate, say, Los Angeles, and in the values, it would say San Francisco, all the values, and so forth. So that's one way. The other option is you can create an advanced segment, and the advanced segment can say, for this city that equals Los Angeles, show me all the metrics. And when you can apply that to any of the reports and then get all the appropriate data.
And a secret for the people who watch Web Analytics TV, actually our good friend Caleb has created a Dimensionator plugin for Chrome and Firefox. If you use that, it actually exposes the DMA in Google Analytics, which is not a dimension that is available in the drop-down or advanced segments. But we'll add a link to Caleb's excellent hack. And you actually can then go down to DMA, which really is very useful for lots of people who do online and offline advertising, because a lot of targeting is actually done by DMA, including radio, television, and everything. So we'll add that link, and this is a top secret. Don't tell anybody, and it's just for people who watch Web Analytics TV.
We'll link it up.
Another one for you, Nick, real quick. And this one's from Mark, and Mark says, I think we all might need some guidance on custom variables. Me too. Like where to find them in reports. I have set them up okay in the code, but I don't see anything in the reports. Where should I be looking for? So where can we find the custom variable reports in Google Analytics, Nick?
Right, so if on the left-hand nav you click under Visitors, and then on one of the sub-menus will say Custom Variables. You click on that and you'll get the reports. And so Custom Variables gives you some really basic information, like how many, so in Custom Variables there's a couple parameters you set to us. You give us the name, the value, and then what we call the scope, whether it's a hit or a page, a session, or a visitor. And so what we'll say is, what are the total number of times we've seen custom variables, right? That's what the report shows you. And in and of itself, it's not maybe that glamorous, but when you think about it, custom variables allow you to describe either a visitor, a session, or a page.
Right.
And with those descriptions, you can apply them to advanced segments. And then you can say, for people who've logged in this session, show me the total revenue versus people who haven't. So they become very powerful when you start applying them to advanced segments. And that's available through the Advanced Segment Builder.
Exactly. And I really think that the true power of custom variables is you usually collect metadata. So if you really want to be a ninja, you know, then you want to use advanced segmentation. I think it's just absolutely key for you to find the insights you need. So we've got a bunch of feature requests here from you, and we love hearing feature requests. So let me just tell you which ones we've got most recently. And the first one we've got from the Netherlands, it says, are we going to have more goal types than destination URLs, time on site, and pages per visit? That's a good request. Another one is, would it be possible to delete e-commerce transactions within Analytics? And all tools, Omniture, Web Trends, Google Analytics, Yahoo Analytics, all tools kind of have this limitation. So that's a good request. Another one is about the access, the security access. We've got this from Oxford in the UK, and they want to have more access beyond view only and admin. So that's an interesting good request, I think, for large companies. Yeah. Will Google Analytics track Silverlight usage without having to add custom events? So you can do this already, but they want to do this in a more automated way, like
Probably
Flash.
Similar to Flash, yeah.
And while it's possible to create 20 goals in a profile, would it be possible to include more than the first 4 in custom reports? So these are all excellent requests. We're going to take this, literally we're going to walk out of this room and give it to the people who run the GA team and impress upon them how much you want these things. So we'll pass them on directly to the top. Some of these are actually pretty important, I think, especially the last one. Yeah. I think is absolutely key. I think it's criminal that I'm not able to add more than 4 goals into my custom reports, because I love custom reports. So we'll try and get your voice to the team and get this thing going.
Just as a plug for the API, though, we do have all 20 in the
exactly.
API.
No. Yes. Yeah. And maybe we'll add some links to some tutorials to the API to this blog post, just in case people are new
and they want to play around with it. Yeah.
But this is this is a great point I think that you've made. Is some of these things you can actually overcome with just a smidgen of technical technical knowledge by using the Google Analytics API because it's open, it's flexible, it's got all the data. Sometimes from the front end, if you're not able to do something, I strongly encourage you to read some of the tutorials that Nick has created himself and see how utterly easy it is for you to literally overcome the limitations of the front end and just still do anything you want to do. Things that sometimes you're not able to do even in other tools. So actually, it's not just a plug, it's a great solution to some of these feature requests. So with that, we'll close. Please keep your questions about anything Google Analytics or Web Analytics coming. And we love answering them. Please go to the moderator page to submit the questions. And also please vote on the questions that you like best that other people have submitted. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.
Take care.